So I'm going to have you start standing and just kind of swaying, shaking out. Transferring your body's load side to side. Maybe taking some ankle circles. You might have to have your hands on your hips or on a chair next to you. And then you might even like bend one knee back and then the other knee. And just move slowly. And then plug down and start to rock a little bit side to side, and I'm letting the ball of the foot and the toes come up and letting the leg rotate. During pregnancy, especially in the third trimester, I love to suggest the exhales coming out through your mouth a lot more. Blowing it out, because that is something that you might really use during the birth. So the more that you train yourself into that, the more helpful it could be. And in the postpartum, it's helpful too as a de-stressor. So now my feet are wider than my pelvis. You can go as wide as you'd like here and have the heels turned in a little bit, toes turned out. We're going to start with the arms crisscrossed and then come down to a gentle squat and open, cross, and squat and open. Cross the arms and squat down. And so you get to decide how deep you're going to go with it, how much you want your pelvis tilted or not tilted, if you want your arms to maybe lift up and down instead. You might hug your baby in your belly or say hello in that moment. Or if you're postpartum, maybe your baby is right in front of you and you can do these movements and exercises while saying hi to baby. If you are postpartum, these sort of more wide leg exercises, you might want to definitely wait until your 6-week mark to make sure that your pelvic floor feels good and you've taken time to heal. So now I'm turning the feet to face forward. Good, and I'm going to have you bend and straighten, bend the knees and straighten. Hands can be on hips. So I'm not coming down as far because here I just want you to reconnect to your knees, your shins, your ankles. When we're carrying another human in our body, the load changes so much through the structure of our body. And so the skeletal structure of our system, especially in the lower half of the body, has to get used to that added load. And so you might be really feeling those changes of sensation in your legs and through your feet. And that takes time to shift after you've had the baby as well. From here, I'm going to suggest that you start to come forward and bring your hands down in front of you. So if you need to, you could have blocks or a chair. You could have your backside against a wall. Use your breath work how you need as a tool to work with yourself, to notice your blood pressure. And maybe you do a little shifting of the hips side to side or bending one knee and then the other. Transferring. And just reminding yourself to stay adaptable in the situation of your current body and how it's changing, whatever happens during your birth, and of the changes that occur in your life with the baby. Let your head sway side to side. And then to come back up, you want to bend your knees, bring one hand at a time to each thigh. You could even straighten your arms a bit to put some extra load into the legs. And what that might do is help you find some traction along the spine and open up in places that you can't access as well right now. So just see how that feels. The wrists can also be an area that are tender during this stage of life. So be aware of that too. And then come up slowly. Always come up slowly in your transitions from a forward fold of any kind, because when pregnant and postpartum, again, your blood pressure might be different, your hormonal shifts, all of that's important so you don't get too dizzy, or so that if you are dizzy, you can be careful. So shake your wrists out. And then slowly walk the feet back to more or less in line with your pelvis. And then just stand firm and try to lift just the toes up. So you feel the balls of your feet and the heels, and then the toes come down. And then transfer to try to lift your heels up a little bit. And then come back down. And then press evenly through the feet as much as you can, spreading out your toes, engaging a little bit more through your thighs. Little shifting of your energy side to side. And notice if the baby, if you're pregnant, notice if the baby is bringing you forward in your stance. So turn this way if you're leaning forward, or if the baby is having you kind of slump back. You know, all different ways that this new way of being in your body might be playing with your pelvis and your spine without you even knowing it. So that's why I'm getting you to do some of these things standing up to begin, so you can start to feel and notice what's happening in these shifts. And so a little bit of hip swaying and pelvis tilting is very helpful. And this is something you can do any time of the day, whenever you remember. Standing in your kitchen, talking to someone. Okay, so now we're going to come down to our hands and knees. So your transition can be slow. You might need to use a chair or the wall to help you get down, depending, again, on the stage that you're at. You also then might want some support under your knees, pillow or towel, a little extra padding for your knees. And then come to your table pose. Start to sway your hips again. So now you're doing a similar type of movement that we just did, except we have changed our relation to gravity. Good, so keep just shifting around, let your head sway. Notice if your center feels heavy depending on the stage you're at. Notice if your baby's moving a lot. Good, and then take some arm raises. So you're just gonna lift one arm up and out and up. Come back down. Up, out, high, and back down. And your hips get to move with you, so take it a couple of times on each side. And then do the same thing with your legs. You get to reach the leg back, bend, reach back, maybe circle. Go to the left side, kick back, circle. If you're able to flip your wrists the other direction, that might help. And just change it up a little bit. And while you do that, take one leg back, press to the ball of the foot, stretch your calf. So especially if you're in the second and third trimesters, stretching your calves, so now switch sides, can be very important to do daily as well. Whether you do something like this or whether you put your foot up, up against the wall and stretch your foot like that. Just because some muscle cramping is typical and it could be useful to stretch every day, that part of the body. So now I'm stepping the right foot out to the right, and you want to make room for baby and even just room for the changes that have occurred if you're postpartum. And so you're stepping the right foot out to the side for some side lunges, rocking back and forth. And staying there, left hand can stay down, right arm can come up. And you might hold there for a moment. You might also decide that it could be interesting to tap the floor and open back up. Come down, reach out, tap the floor, and come back up. And then eventually both hands come back down and you can sweep the knee back to where it was. Switch sides, left foot steps out to the side. Your hands might move over and spread out. So you find your stability and you're going to rock in a side lunge. And then you can plant that right hand down in front of you, again, where you feel like your structure feels steady, and then left arm comes up. And you might hold for a moment first just to figure out how the shape feels. And if you want to explore within it, take the left hand down, tap the floor, and then open back up. And do that a couple more times. And then eventually both hands down, sweep the left knee back. So now you can move the knees a bit wider if you'd like. Keep your hips up, drop down to your elbows, and just give yourself time to be here. So in prenatal yoga, this is often known as polar bear pose. You might rock back and forth. Rock the hips side to side. And if it's feeling really nice, you could also stack your arms and let your forehead rest down. Let out some sighs. come back up slowly. Walk your knees a little closer in. See if you can curl your toes under and rock your hands towards your knees. Stretching the toes for a moment in this version of toe squat. So just sit back as much as you can handle and then eventually come up and stand on your knees. Then your feet can relax. You can even tap them out a little bit. And standing up on your knees, say hello to your baby if you have the baby there. If you're postpartum, say hello to yourself. Bring one hand to chest, one hand to stomach. Good, and then sweep the arms out and up. And bend your elbows. Take the right arm under the left for eagle arms. Hold your left thumb and then lift the elbows up and squeeze. This is an arm-shoulder stretch that I like to teach a lot during pregnancy and postpartum because you constantly need this opening after so much holding the baby. So if you're pregnant, it's kind of training you for that. Here comes one of my babies. What's that? Open your arms. Switch sides. So now the other arm is under. You grab your right thumb. Squeeze and lift. So the more you do this kind of stretch, you'll get it in your brain after you've been feeding your baby. You might remember this. And then open out and release. Good, a little more swaying, shoulders shrugging. And then see if you can step one foot forward and just kind of wiggle it, heel toe it up in front of you for a low lunge. From here, your right hand is on right thigh. And I want you to press your right hand to thigh while you reach left arm up and over to the right. So you're taking a side bend, and that pressing right hand to thigh helps you remember to try to ground and stabilize through both sides of the body and both legs. Come back upright, and then you might do a little bit of rocking forward and back. And if your hip flexors really need this work, then you might stay here longer. You might even stay for a full minute if you want. And if you can go lower down, it just depends. You could step the foot out further to the right and bring your hands to the floor on the inside of your leg. And work from there. So all of it depends on your experience with movement prior to pregnancy and your experience currently. All right, so when you're ready, heel toe the right foot back out to the side until you feel like you can bring the knee back underneath you. Give your hips a little sway. And then actually between sides, maybe a little bit of arm swings. So you're not going to have the same range of motion, especially late second trimester, third trimester, of being able to really sway, but you can still let your arms move. Maybe even like swim them. Because again, this is just helping you open through the diaphragm, through your ribs, your back. Trying to get you to remember your own mobility, flexibility, adaptability. Okay, so now we're gonna step the left foot out, and then you're gonna slowly toe heel the foot forward. So you're in a little lunge, and you can start to rock forward and back. So this could be it. This could be just exactly where you stay. You could do this for a full minute, a little bit of rocking. Or again, you could come down, hands to the mat. If you do take lunges in your practice, if you do take warrior twos, for example, pulsing in it can be very helpful. It's very nurturing to your system to sway. And that's something that you'll do naturally when the baby's ready to come. That's a soothing technique. So that's something else you might just add into your practice. Okay, walk that left foot out to the side until you're able to drop that left knee back underneath you. Take your arms up. Maybe lace the fingers, flip the palms up. Notice again if the baby is pulling you forward and if you're going into a back bend. It's not necessarily bad or good. It's just something to be aware of. So maybe if you feel like that is putting strain on your lower back, that pulling of the growth of your stomach, then you might just check in with that and try to balance it out, spread it out. Well, thank you. You suck. And then arms come down. Okay, now we're gonna come down to sit. So I just did that fast. Forget if you're pregnant, you wanna come down, you might walk a little bit over to the side until you can transition down and get your legs out from under you. Okay, you could have a pillow underneath you. Actually, let's lean back first and do a little bit of this windshield wipering. So you'll see a lot of the things that I'm sharing are things that I would teach normally in classes. It's just that when we're focusing on this specific stage, it's even more slow and aware. And the transitions are gentle. You want to leave room and you want to be kind to yourself. Soles of the feet together. Knees out to the side. Sit up. Wiggle your seat out from under you. Maybe check in with baby or with yourself. Some deep breaths. From here, place one hand to one shin or knee. You could lean a little bit towards that knee and take a side reach. And then switch sides. Come back up. Lean back by grabbing your shins or your ankles. Straighten your arms. And you get to lean back just enough so that you feel traction now in your shoulders. Shoulders, thoracic spine, chest. Really throughout your spine again, just in a different way. Good. And then release. From here, you're going to let the legs open wide. Wiggle your seat out again. Heels to the floor. You might take a little bit of movement through your ankles. But then try not to let your legs flop inward when we're ready to sit. Try to make sure that the ankles, the heels are to the floor in a way, in such a way that you feel steady to have the legs secure and slightly active. Okay, so we're gonna crawl the hands out as much as you're able. I have tented fingers here because especially the larger you get, you're not gonna go as far forward. Just a way for you to open up back of the legs. Which the lines of energy up the back of the legs, through the inner thigh, it's all connected to your core line and your pelvic floor. So even while you are here, if there are pelvic floor exercises that you already do or that you'd like to try, you could do that in poses like this. Maybe where you squeeze like an elevator, going up and then back down the elevator. Just one thing you can try, but you can also just Google or look up other forms of pelvic floor exercises. If you're on Instagram, I really like the Vagina Whisperer. You could look up her work. Among many others, you can go down that rabbit hole. So now I'm just sliding hands up and back, up and down the legs. All right, then we're gonna sit up, lean back, slide the legs in one at a time. And this is where you get to situate your body where you feel comfortable, but you're gonna walk your feet further out and see if you can take one ankle across opposite thigh for a figure 4. From there, you might be able to slide the foot that's out in front of you closer and then walk your hands closer. And so this is a version of taking figure 4 that you can do just sitting down. And of course you can do it sitting in a chair or on the edge of your couch or the edge of your bed and just practicing that. So this position, also you can move into a gentle twist with it. It's a pretty safe twist to try. If you're gonna go into the twist though, send the bottom foot forward again and then start to let everything twist to the side. And from there, you can either just stay there or you might be able to lean back onto your elbow and work a little bit there, taking right hand to right foot and pressing away a little bit, or letting the arm come up. If you have a bolster, you could use a bolster to lie back onto, slanted up bolster, so that you can recline in this safe twist. So I'll turn this way so you can see what that looked like, leaning back onto your elbow, being there, and just allowing for some opening through your center. Of course, if you're postpartum, you might be able to lie all the way back and just feel that opening, which after the baby is now out of your body, the lower back is still going to take some time and tenderness. Even for me, 5 years later, I still have to work really hard at staying in good alignment through my spine and how much my pelvis to spine relationship has shifted from all the change of pregnancy and then baby wearing and carrying my kids and all the different things. So it's a lifelong process. Okay, when you're ready, come up, switch sides. You might need to shake your knees out, maybe shake your wrists out, and then we'll do the other side. So remember, feet are farther away from you to start. especially if you're in late pregnancy, so you have enough space to get your foot up there. Then you draw the bottom foot closer, walk your hands closer, and you get to then explore from there. And so take your time with this part. You might stay longer than what I'm holding. When you're ready to try the twist, take the bottom foot further away from you as you drop everything to the right. And again, you could just stay there. You could work with doing a little bit of pulsing down through the elbows, or you might come down to your back forearm, lean, press away, or even take some arm movement. And if you do have a bolster or pillows that you can stack up behind you and slant behind you, so let's pretend this block is a bolster and you have it behind you, what it would look like would be sort of like this, where you're slanted up, you have support for your head, but you have this figure 4 shape and you get to rest like this. It's safe for the baby. It's not a deep tugging twist. It's just a nice opening for your outer hips. Okay? And every time you're semi-laying down or sitting, you want to lean to the side before you come up. Even in the postpartum, give yourself really as long as you need to let everything heal. Come back up. Having my kids knocking and talking in the room with me while I'm trying to record this. I think what we'll do is I'll end this now with side lines, so you know that you can, if you still feel comfortable, you can lay down, legs up the wall. Guys, if you're going to keep talking, I need you to lead. This is what it's like when you have time to work and have the kids. If you're going to take side lying, you can come down like this. Put a pillow or a block between your thighs. And you'll want to stay there for a while. Thinking of you all.